everybody, welcome back to Kiki's Closet. Thank you so much for joining us today here for part 2 of our Black Artists Matter episode. You know the drill. Let's get started. Let's go.
Come on and come and play in Kiki's Closet today.
You know I love SpongeBob so much. When the tour was going out, I got called in for SpongeBob and for Plankton. And both roles were played by white actors on Broadway. And so immediately I was like, okay, I know I could do either of these roles really well, but because of my skin color, I know I'm gonna have to work harder than the person that shows up that looks like the counterpart. So I literally learned how to play the ukulele. I went in for my first audition and played Bikini Bottom Day. I don't play instruments. I literally learned an instrument because I was like, how am I gonna compete with these white actors that can just walk in the room and already be a point, higher than me? I wanna know if you've had experiences. Have you felt that before when you've gotten appointments or gone in for auditions? Wow, because I'm not what they originally saw for the part, I have to work harder to get this job.
I'm like, and unpack all of the emotion right now. That is hands down, it's what we do, and it's what we do unconsciously. It's what we do when we just sit down and we're having kitchen talk with our besties and things like that. Like, I remember Jen and I, when we both booked Beauty, we looked at each other and we're like, we did this. But then in rehearsals, when we saw our understudies go up and both of them were white, they were like, but we both looked at each other and were like, but that's what they want. So when we have rehearsals, we were in the same place where Hamilton was and Shuffle Along were. I got off the elevator and I looked and there was Brian Stokes Mitchell. And so he was like, are you in this show? And I was like, no, I'm doing Beauty and the Beast. And he was like, what are you doing in the show? I was like, I'm playing Lumiere. And he responded with, wow, a Black Lumiere. That's amazing. Good for you. Take that in. He was like, you've earned that. And I remember being like, but through all the times that I was second guessing myself, I was like, here is someone who is at the top of their fucking game, who, he can play literally whatever fucking role he wants. And he is giving me that type of validation. That's what we have to hold on to.
I do want to emphasize the mindfuck that it is. Already as actors, we are in that constant tricking ourselves out of bad habits and trying to get ourselves to stop the negative thoughts so that the best parts of us can shine forward. But as you evolve as an actor and get better at auditions and figure out where maybe you fit best and who's making the kind of work and all of that stuff, right, that we do, then you get the appointment and it's the whole cycle that you've already beat starts over again in your head. And I've definitely sat there and looked at material and been like, okay, how do they want me to do it? How are the white girls gonna do it? How are they gonna, how should I put them on me so that when I walk in, it's crazy, it's insane.
The biggest thing that gets me is that I have a very raspy tone, and just in general, I like to sound like this. But the reality is that when I get auditions and callbacks, I have to think about the tonal quality that I have. Am I putting on that musical theater sound? But it's but what exactly is that? Because if we unpack that, there's that particular white person tonality that they're looking for that we can do. But we're basically being told to sing unnatural to yourself, to sound more like this thing that we're used to, because if you sound more like that, then it's inauthentic to the character per se, even if the character itself is a make-believe character.
I mean, I think about that a lot because it's just this thing that every Black girl is supposed to be able to wail everybody's supposed to be able to have the Jennifer Hudson something, and I'm just kind of not all of our voices sound like that. Everyone has a different timbre. Everyone has a different range. Everyone has like you said, tonality. So it's I don't sing like the Black girl standing next to me. We don't sing the same. It's exhausting. It is exhausting.
Yeah.
And I actively fight against that.
Yes, I am tired of being expected to take everyone to church. I didn't even grow up in church.
Right.
Leave me alone.
Right. Literally, I was raised a white woman.
Oh my God.
Stop telling us to take it to church.
I am Jewish.
Stop telling us to take it to church.
Okay.
Because you want to know the church that I went to growing up was all white with a Christian rock band. That's the church that I went to.
I am looking at
that church. Because
every
that's what I went
single music
Honey.
director out there.
Or
Like,
the
this is the
Mhm.
most offensive thing. Like, oh, is that what you think all black people do? Is like jump up, run around, and have the like Holy Ghost hit them?
Oh, I literally
Okay.
had a director tell me that one. Like, oh, I just thought all of you guys do the same project that I was telling you about.
That is
Scotland.
the stereotype.
Alright.
That is the
Everybody was like,
stereotype.
what? You
Yeah.
don't know this Jesus song? And I was like,
Yeah.
no, I'm Jewish.
Oh my god.
And-
Oh my god.
Everybody
Right.
freaked out, and the director says under her breath, oh, I thought all of you guys just grew up doing that stuff every day.
Do you all
Craziness.
see how we're not able to be fully realized persons? Because what I'm even
Yeah.
hearing is like,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to be forced into this tonality, right? But at the same
Right.
time, I don't want to be expected to do this tonality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, but why can't I just do what I
What
do?
I want.
Because we
And I
have
mean,
to fit that quota. 9 times out of 10, if we are performing in a show that's going around regionally and things like that, a lot of those people have never truly had experiences with black people.
Yes.
So what they need to witness on that stage is the stereotype that they are comfortable with.
This whole thing is about what's palatable to a white audience.
We saw the backlash with the new Little Mermaid movie when they announced that Ariel is going to be played by a
Yeah.
black girl, and everyone was so upset. I'm like, it's a
Right,
fucking
a
fish.
mermaid. A mermaid.
It's a
Y'all are
freaking
upset- y'all are
mermaid.
ups-
A mythical
Y'all are
creature.
upset about a fish?
Y'all were pressed. Y'all were panini pressed.
So pressed.
Right.
Why y'all so mad? Stop being mad.
Right.
The reality is that it is 2020. So why is it that now it's still like, oh my God, the first black, the first black, the first black, the first Latino, the first
Yes.
we're over that. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
because we as a community and as our small communities should be proud. But they should be looking at it going like, you know what, this is so sad that they have to always be like, we got one who finally did it. Like, and so that's where it should come from, where they're not thinking, oh my God, we should be so happy that we gave them a prize. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's what it feels like. They're like, we handed out another one, so aren't y'all happy? So then we get an opportunity with a show like Book of Mormon. I'm sorry, I do love it per se. Like, I thought it was funny, but when you break it down, you're like, are we proud to be doing Book of Mormon? It's
Baby,
an
that show is
opportunity.
problematic. One of the biggest things that makes me upset is that as a black artist, we are told that we are disposable. That like
Yes.
there is another one just waiting to come take your spot.
Right.
But are you saying that, you know, to your Elder Prices, your Elder Cunninghams? That's the toxic, racist environment, culture
Yeah.
that truly needs to change.
My best friend was just in Book of Mormon. We just did a Book of Mormon episode. I saw the show 3 nights in a row, just like right before COVID hit. And so when I saw Griffin's post about Book of Mormon, his final sentence, Book of Mormon is racist, I had to take a moment and look at it because I never really saw it as racist. First of all, I'm not a black person, but I had to take a step back and I had conversations with friends who have either been in the show or have auditioned for the show, and I didn't necessarily understand at first why the show was perceived as racist. So I had to do some homework myself, and now I understand. I want to know
Right.
what non-black people of color and our white allies can do to help create a safer work environment. And I know it's not your job, it's not your duty, but I'm someone who really does want to be there with you guys 100%. What can I do? What can we do to help?
I would say, Teach, that it's the kind of thing that we are getting accustomed to, especially now. It's not being afraid to speak up and thinking that we're going to get blacklisted or cut out of, you know, a rehearsal or a process. You know what I mean? Like, we are the ones who automatically have to do that. We silence ourselves because we think, oh my God, I'm not going to get another booking. I'm not going to get a blah, 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 blah. Our allies have to be the same way. Everyone in the companies who are the assistants and who are, you know, whatever level you're at, if you say that you're an ally, you stand up and you stand up regardless. If you're thinking you have good intentions and your impact is to really help us, then you'll do that and not worry about your job. Because I'm telling you right now, I refuse to worry about my jobs anymore, because how did I just go through a 3-month isolation in COVID with no jobs, still not even sure that there are jobs, and there are still problems going on. So I said, you know what, if that's the case, if my industry and the government are not going to help me, then what does it matter? I might as well speak out now and forever.
I think that's the thing. It's like, if you hear something, and like this is going, you know, I've talked to like people that are like dance captains and things like that. When you hear people that have power in the rooms, like stage managers or producers and things, like you might be on the chopping block for that. But you know what? You need to speak up. Like if they are trying to deem us as difficult, or they're a problem because they or if you hear a racist fucking joke, instead of just kikiing with it, call them out. Listen, that is inappropriate. Or, you know, a lot of the times, like when we are in the room and there's a racist joke that has been said and we just sit there and take it, that is where you look over at us, look over at a friend and be like, I got you.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem. It's that we are so used to just, all right, this is part of the job. It's not part of the job, people.
Yes.
It's not part of the job anymore. It's never been, and whenever Broadway or, you know, regional theaters open up, it won't be.
It won't be.
Because the thing is like, be prepared to get called out.
And that's the same thing that, you know, I think on an interpersonal level, that's exactly what you're saying, is that in these environments, backstage, dressing room, you know, whatever environments that we are in with you, it's not literally the definition of ally, like we are a team, like you have my back, right? So it's like when those things happen, listening, speaking up, being an advocate in that way, you know, and I also think that a lot of it has to do with the reason why it feels so difficult for it to be right, or for people to get it right, kind of, is that a lot of it has to do with accountability. Like, what have I done? Because like when you apologize to someone, when you feel remorse about something, you have to acknowledge and understand what it is you did and then move forward. There's a lot of like, what can I do now? What can I do now? What can we do moving forward? And it's like, but what did you, like months ago when we were working together, you know what I mean? Like that has to be acknowledged. And I think on a structural level, it has to do with hiring more people of color, hiring more Black people, exactly what we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, seeing that work when it's in a basement somewhere, supporting it, producing it. I really, truly believe that all of this happening during the pandemic was purposeful.
Yes.
Because all we doing is sitting home on our phone, and we have to look at it. There are no distractions. There's nothing happening. That's why a lot of my friends will be like, it feels a little different this time. It feels, you know what I mean? Because there's just so much happening, and we have to face it. We have to, and there are so many things that I think we need to sit down and say, what are the things that we're bringing with us into this new chapter, and what are we leaving behind?
Yes.
Right. I mean, and continuing forward with your point, is listening is paramount. Like it's listening is the step one, because one, we have to, like you said, right now everyone's being forced to listen because there's nothing else that we can do but listen.
Yeah.
But we can't stop listening. When we're back when the pandemic is over and we're all back in theaters and doing what we love to do, the listening has to continue. We can't stop listening because there are things distracting us. As an ally, your ear should be. We as people of color always have to be listening because we have to be on the lookout. And I think that's something that's missing in our allies sometimes, is that they don't always have that ear out. Like we have to have that ear out.
Yeah.
So listening and then responding accurately.
I want to add to that, like listening is a multi-pronged activity. Like it's not just get on Facebook and see what your Black friends are talking about today, because we're tired of talking about it on Facebook. Like half of these conversations are not happening on my social media anymore because I'm tired. We're tired, right? Yeah. And now it's white people's turn to have those conversations, like you guys said. But the listening before those conversations can happen has to happen in more forms than one. You need to be reading Paul Robeson and Angela Davis and Assata Shakur and reading about the Black people who worked. If you're thinking about Broadway specifically, you need to be reading the autobiographies of Black people who came before us and the things that they have dealt with in this industry. and in the system under which we live. Like, you can't be an ally if you have no idea what racism looks like in its covert forms, in its overt forms. You can't be an ally if you think all lives matter, right? If you don't know what's wrong with that phrase, you can't be an ally. Even if you do really believe that you don't want anybody to die and you don't want police brutality to keep happening. But that understanding can't happen until you gain the understanding. So I am asking my allies to read some damn books and listen to some speeches and just kick it into high gear. I need like higher education level understanding here with Black liberation theory and feminist theory.
I want to end on like a positive note. What is giving you hope during this time?
What's giving me hope, honestly, is seeing the surgence of my community finally speaking up and saying, we don't care as a whole what you all have to say. We're no longer putting up with it. You know, someone asked me the other day, how are you feeling though? You know, and I had to say, it seems like I'm angry. It seems like I am, you know, going through like a really hard time. But I said, but the actual day-to-day hasn't changed, right? So it's like, I don't feel any more scared today than I did yesterday, than I did last week, than I did a month ago, than I did a year ago, 5 years ago. Let's keep going. So that doesn't change. Like, I'm not more scared to go out, because at the same time, for 31 years, I've had it ingrained in me subconsciously that I'm scared of certain things, right? So I know that as soon as I walk out, I'm a threat, if you will. So what I'm saying with that is, the day-to-day hasn't changed, but for us, it has, because what we have decided is that even in the worst of times right now, we are of value, right? We knew that, but we decided that everyone's gonna know that. And so I'm proud to keep doing this work. I'm proud to keep calling people out. I'm proud to keep having these conversations. I'm proud. And it gives me joy, because I've never been more happy to finally say, I have a voice and I'm gonna use it.
Yeah, I would say the sheer numbers. I mean, seeing all 50 states protesting and countries abroad protesting. I mean, when I saw photos from like Paris, all the people in the streets, it's overwhelming, because the solidarity feels different this time. It feels like people are listening. It feels like people are ready to carry the torch from the Black people that have been yelling about this forever into their communities and their dinner tables and their Facebook comments and stuff. And that has been, this whole quarantine, this has been the most hopeful I've felt.
I think what's very interesting is that, not that you're not hearing from, you know, some people will come out of the blue and they are texting you and calling you, but truly having, you know, one of my all-time favorite people in the world and my like absolute best friend, who is like my brother, is white, and he called the other day, and like, we've never truly had that discussion of like race and like my experience in theater. And it was like the first time of actually having that discussion, and him like listening and being there and being like, Marcus, like, yeah, that is, I totally agree. We are on that page. But it is that where like, I don't think right now that a lot of white people are now not afraid to be uncomfortable. And I think that is what is very hopeful. And that is the thing that is very exciting about what everything is going on. It's like, they are ready to put in the work. They are ready to actually be an ally. They are ready to be like Uncle Joe at Thanksgiving, you know, just called, you know, someone, you know, an Arab or Oriental or the N-word, and they are ready to be like, not here, not today, not tomorrow. We're not doing that anymore. Yeah. That's the hope.
I think what is hopeful for me is that this is happening at all levels of power within our system. It's like seeing, you know, Mayor Bowser in Washington D.C. that turned that entire street into the Black Lives Matter that leads up to the White House, with our racist president living right inside of behind those white doors. Like there are Black people of color at all levels of power who are done and who are not taking it anymore. And I think what is hopeful is seeing that we have these Black leaders who they've all always been voicing their, you know, they are to voice things, but they're all of them as a collective, along with all of us at our levels of varying power, are providing one strong voice, one strong front. And I think that is providing hope, is that all of us are all in this together, no matter what level of power we are in.
Thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you for using your voice. Thank you for helping spread awareness in the problems of theater and the problems of the world. I so appreciate you taking time to come to my closet. And I can't wait to see you all real soon. I love you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us over the last 2 weeks as we spoke to 5 fabulous Black artists. I hope our episodes inspired you to have conversations with your family and your friends about what's going on in the world today. I hope to see you next time here in Kiki's Closet. Until then, please stay safe, make sure your voice is heard, support Black-owned businesses. A lot of them need our help. I'm sending you peace and love.
Come on and come and play in Kiki's Closet today.